Well, it's a big day for the Australian media landscape today, with the federal government set to announce plans to force big tech companies to pay local publishers for news. Now, under the plan, companies such as Meta, owner of Facebook and Instagram, could face financial penalties for breaches.
And separately, as we go to air this morning, Meta's services Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram appear to be down globally. More on that a little later. Let's bring in political reporter Isabel Rowe at Parliament House. Isabel, this has long been a debate about how we ensure news platforms can be paid for their content. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Bridget. Well, we understand that this is an attempt from the Albanese government to make tech companies comply with the News Media Bargaining Code. Now, that was something that was introduced under the former coalition government by the former Prime Minister Scott Morrison. And that was his attempt to force tech companies to pay for the content that he says they make money from. So companies like Meta, like Google, who put things on search engines and Facebook pages, content that is made by Australian journalists. Now, that code wasn't mandatory, and so many companies didn't sign up. They didn't do a deal. Meta, which owns Facebook, did do a deal. It paid for some news, but then refused to re-sign it, and at the moment is threatening to take all news content off its pages instead of re-signing that deal. So this is an announcement that we'll hear more about today. We understand the government is going to threaten financial penalties in some way to try and make these companies actually negotiate with media organisations and do that deal. This is the latest in a series of laws that we've seen from the Albanese government that have looked to crack down on social media companies. Last month we heard about the ban on under-16s on social media passing Parliament. The government also wants to put a duty of care on social media companies to make sure that they monitor harmful content that's on their platforms. We've actually also just received a statement from the Prime Minister's office. In the last few minutes, they say, we understand the interest in this issue. We want a new deal to support good Australian journalism, and that the News Media Bargaining Code we inherited doesn't do that job, and that ministers will stand up later today to give more details about that. So that's just in from the Prime Minister's office now, and obviously we'll have more for you throughout the day.
We certainly will. Isabel, thanks very much.
Lawyers expect thousands of women to join a landmark class action against two of Australia's largest mining companies alleging sexual harassment and discrimination. For more on the story, let's bring in reporter Ariana Levy in Brisbane. Ari, good morning. So what has the reaction been?
Yeah, good morning, Michael. We've heard from Australia's Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Anna Cody, who says that these allegations are not only unacceptable, but also deeply concerning. And frankly, some of these harrowing accounts include abuse like rape, and they've spanned over the last 2 decades and include allegations from hundreds of female FIFO workers. It's something that the Commissioner says is, while there's been education across the sector in appropriate workplace behaviour, there still needs to be lots more done in that space. Now, this claim and the class action was filed in the federal court yesterday. It alleges widespread systemic sexual harassment and discrimination at the mining companies of Rio Tinto as well as BHP. And some of the claims are so confronting. They include the likes of being urinated on as well as defecated in front of at mine sites right across the country. The ABC has even spoken to one complainant who alleged that she had spy cameras set up in her room by colleagues to watch her undress and shower, and she says that was incredibly concerning. Other claimants have also alleged that they were offered non-disclosure agreements by the companies to silence their stories, as well as compensation for their dismissal. And this is a practice that Brisbane-based lawyer from JGA Sadler Lawyers, who is leading this case, Joshua Aylward, says is simply not good enough.
Some of these women are truly broken and are unable to even work because of sustained sexual assaults and harassments whilst being at work at these companies. It does take a toll, and understandably so. And they just feel worthless because of the way that these companies have allowed these men to treat them.
Now, both these companies have undergone cultural workplace reviews recently, and in statements that have been provided to the ABC, they say that workplace sexual harassment and discrimination is simply not tolerated in the companies, and that they take these claims very, very seriously. Now, most of these brave women that have come forward with their stories say that they're hoping to share them in the hopes that other women will also feel and be encouraged to come forward as well. It's an online class action that can be applied for, and still many victims are expected to apply for this application. Lawyers say that they are expecting upwards of 1,000 women, so it is certainly going to be a landmark class action, Michael.
Yes, certainly is. Ari, thank you. Emma's here with the rest of the morning's news.
Thanks, Michael. The Kremlin has hit out at Israel over its attacks on Syria's military infrastructure following the rebel coup that toppled the Assad regime. Russian Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov says ensuring the security of Russian facilities in Syria is extremely important, and that Russia is closely monitoring the situation. Russia has a major air base in Syria's Latakia province, as well as a naval facility elsewhere in the country. Tens of thousands of Victorian students will receive their VCE results this morning. The state's exam period was marred by a series of publishing errors, which meant some questions across 65 subjects were accidentally released early. The government has promised a full review. The average ATAR for this year's cohort is 69.52. That's up slightly from the previous year, with 41 students achieving the highest possible marks of 99.95. New data reveals major inequities in abortion access across New South Wales. The research released by Family Planning New South Wales shows almost 1/3 of the state's local government areas had no doctors prescribing abortion pills despite high demand. It also reveals that patients in remote areas sought terminations at twice the rate of those living in cities. The federal court will today hand down its judgment in Moira Deeming's defamation case against Victorian Liberal leader John Pesutto. The former Liberal MP sued Mr Pesutto after she was expelled from the party following her attendance at an anti-trans rights rally in March last year, which was gatecrashed by neo-Nazis. Global coffee bean prices have soared to their highest level in nearly half a century because bad weather is affecting crops in major growing regions. Brazil is the world's largest coffee producer and has faced a record-breaking drought, while it's a similar story in Vietnam, which produces about 40% of the Robusta beans typically used to make instant coffee. Coffee drinkers will likely see price rises in the next 6 to 12 months.
Thanks very much, Emma. Let's take a quick look at the markets, and the futures are looking up despite a fall on Wall Street. Dollar's down, oil is up, gold is up, and coffee bean futures are through the roof. Clearly. Off the charts.
Off the charts. And a photo of a red squirrel with its head apparently stuck in a tree has taken the top gong at this year's Nikon Comedy Wildlife Awards. The competition has been running since 2015 and gives nature photographers a chance to show off the amusing moments they come across while documenting the natural world. Other notable winners include Mantis flamenca in the insect category and a whiskered tern crash landing in the bird division.
Oh,
Ouch.
Love it.
Kind of looks like a diver, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.